Okay, guys.
Kathleen, we're starting.
We call the meeting to order. Village of Corrales governing body. Meeting this June 21st of 2022. Please put your phones on vibrate or turn them off so you don't interrupt the meeting. And then join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilor Miera.
Here.
Councilor Woolman.
Here.
Councilor Knight. Councilor Alsobrook is absent. Councilor Burkett.
Here.
Councilor Murray.
Here.
So we have a quorum. Okay. Has everybody a chance to read the agenda? Need a motion to approve the agenda, please?
That's me.
Oh,
I don't hear so. So move, Mr. Mayor.
okay. So I have a motion to approve the agenda
Second.
and a second from Councilor Knight. Councilor Miera made the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. The agenda is approved. So we are very fortunate to have a special guest tonight. Well, actually, we have several special guests tonight, but the first one is AJ Pacheco, who works for Congresswoman Leger Fernandez, our representative up in Washington. And he's going to make an introduction and tell you where he is and who he is. And you guys call him. Yeah, just go right ahead. Speak right in the microphone. You may have to turn it on. Does it have to be turned on, Melanie?
I turned it on.
Sounds on.
There you go.
So good evening, everyone. My name is AJ Pacheco, and I'm a field rep with Congresswoman Teresa Leger Fernandez, representing the 3rd District of New Mexico. Mayor Fahey, thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's
Council
wonderful.
members. So I'm here for a few different reasons. The first reason is to listen to what's happening in Corrales and explore ways that we can support the community. I know there's a lot of needs surrounding water, infrastructure. And so we're trying to work really hard to meet those needs for the community through the Congresswoman's office. Also to make myself available. First of all, to provide updates on what the Congresswoman is working on in Washington for all of you, and also to offer help to folks who may be experiencing issues with federal agencies. We offer constituent casework services for folks who may be, encountering barriers with IRS, Social Security, any of those types of things. And so I'm happy to provide any of those updates for the Congresswoman or offer my services to help with any of those federal agency barriers. And I'll be here for the remainder of the meeting and have cards or anything like that afterwards. So
Hey, thank you, AJ.
thank you, Mayor
Appreciate
Fahey. Appreciate you.
it. Okay, so now is Amy online? Okay, so Amy Bell is going to present their plan for our administrative complex parking lot upgrades. Is she going to share her screen?
She
Okay.
is. Excuse me.
All right.
Can you guys see my screen and hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Mr. Mayor, councilors, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of time tonight to talk about this exciting project, share it with you all and members of the community. Just real quick, at first, I want to talk briefly about the New Mexico Main Street, Corrales Main Street and Village relationship, as that's how this project came to be. And so sort of the New Mexico Main Street Program 101 is if your community has this great partnership between your municipality and your Main Street organization, and your Main Street organization is able to meet all of the national Main Street benchmarks and be an accredited organization such as Corrales Main Street is, the community has access to free technical assistance in the 4 points of Main Street, which are design, promotion, organization, and economic vitality. And so we're looking at a map here of all of the different organizations, whether they're fully accredited or affiliated, Main Street organizations in the state. And obviously for this project, Corrales was able to access design technical assistance to renovate, oops, I'm on the wrong slide. Here, we'll start at the beginning, to renovate the administrative complex. And so, this work came about through a partnership between New Mexico Main Street, the Village, and Corrales Main Street. It's been a highly collaborative effort. The main goals for the project were really to renovate the administrative complex site, which is what you're looking at here, and develop a plan and design for wayfinding and signage within the administrative complex and the village more comprehensively. So just to orient folks, we're looking at, Corrales Road is over here to the left. The council chambers and the court is where you all are sitting. There's the municipal court right there. And Village Hall, public safety are down here. Senior Center is over here. And so right now, parking is sort of relaxed. We can kind of park where, people sort of know where to park. I know that there's a lot of frustration for folks within Village Hall and some of the other facilities in terms of helping people find where they need to go within the administrative complex. Another major goal for this project was to improve, increase, enhance public space, community gathering areas. Okay, so the proposed changes, sort of in a nutshell, include really organizing the parking spaces. But I want to emphasize, it's probably tiny here. You can't see it. We counted about 34 spaces existing. This plan does not decrease the amount of parking spaces. It maintains that number of 34 parking spaces. The other thing that it does is we're proposing removing some of the impermeable pavement, some of the asphalt and the concrete. So we are increasing the amount of permeable surfaces and water that can percolate through the driving lanes and areas here, and also complying with the village's requirements associated with percentage of area of sites that needs to be permeable surface. So
I spent $700,000.
Did someone want to make a comment? I'm sorry. Oh, okay, maybe that was just a unmute. So I think the point here is these are not really drastic changes. We're really just kind of cleaning things up, making it easier to find your way around. Another major component is creating a park area that would connect the community room with the senior center. And so this would be outdoor area that would enhance the community room space, provide shaded area for picnic, maybe gatherings, water harvesting opportunities. Definitely a great opportunity for master gardeners to advise on plants, pollinator habitat, and things like that. We're also looking at improvements to the Village Hall entrance, including shade and seating, and also formalizing, improving ADA access to the court with a little reconfiguration of the access points here. So, and then also this plan includes locations for signage within the administrative complex to help people find their way around. So I know that plans are not always the easiest thing to read. So we've done some 3D visualizations here. This view in the upper left-hand corner is if we were looking like we were, a bird up above Corrales Road. Village Hall is here. Municipal Court is here. New Park would be here. The second one, upper right-hand corner, is looking at the new municipal court entries, looking at improved, universal accessibility access and a more formalized entrance so that people know that this is a place where they're supposed to go. Lower left-hand corner, we're looking at just how the parking is reorganized, as well as this park space between the community room and the senior center. And then finally, looking from the south, north at Village Hall here, and just some improvements to those entryways. And then here we have some different images of examples of things that could be integrated into this plan. And we encourage folks, and I'll mention this again, these boards are going to be up on display in the community room from Wednesday through Sunday this week, and you can vote on the things that you like. So if you see something here that you think, wow, that'd be really cool, or you see something that you think, "Oh, I really hate that," this is the opportunity to go take a look at those boards and let us know what you think. You know, there's dots to indicate that you like something. We've got sticky notes. You can leave us your comments. You know, and we've also got my contact information if you know, folks want to reach out directly with questions. So things like the shade sails, permeable, you know, pavement in the parking lot, things like public art and murals, opportunities to integrate a lot of the great, you know, local talent that we have. You know, maybe we could have some games, chessboards, or, you know, other activities for the little parklet area. Again, looking at water harvesting, pollinator habitat, perhaps space for more formal events, family picnics, and things like that. And then here in this last slide, we just see the design for the sign family wayfinding concept. You guys will probably recognize the sign that was installed at the main entrance to the administrative complex here. But there is opportunity, you know, for these signs to be installed within the administrative complex, as well as, you know, more comprehensively throughout the village to help people find where they're going to go. And with that, I'll just remind folks that these boards are going to be on display at the community room Wednesday through Sunday this week. Please, you know, leave us your thoughts or comments, ideas. Please also feel free to contact me. And then also, you know, we have the amazing Angela Gutierrez, who's the Corrales Main Street Executive Director, who's able to answer questions as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you. Any comments from the counselors? Yes, Stuart.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. So have you contemplated where to move the glass recycling bin that currently set here north of the building? I mean, I didn't see any provision for it. Are we going to relocate that?
That is a great question, Counselor. Thank you very much. Yes, I know right now that bin is located like right here, right? And it takes up 4 or 5 spaces. That is something that we would need to figure out because it could take up parking spaces, or we might find another creative solution for it. I don't know. It looks like there might be some unused space that might be, you know, we have to figure out the access requirements for them to pick it up, right?
Yeah, and also the milled recycled asphalt. I'm just curious, are you going to put a liner down with base course so that if the water percolates through, that it doesn't allow any chemicals to leach through as well?
I think that's a great idea and excellent comment. You know, right now this design is schematic, and so we haven't reached that level of detail, but we'll certainly make a note, you know, to recommend to look at, you know, making sure that whatever the you know, parking lot treatment is, that it's doesn't you know, cause water quality problems.
And also the 3 EV stations that you have over on the, looks like the northwest corner, are they, I mean, that's just a placeholder for new charging stations. Nothing's really been determined yet where we're going to put those.
Correct. Yeah, it's I think it's really just sort of a placeholder to keep the idea alive, and that those might be good places for it, but that's going to have to be, you know, fleshed out in the future.
And do we have an idea about you mentioned lot coverage. Do we have an idea about how much the over this entire area, what our lot coverage will be after the project's finished?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
I was just curious about the total lot coverage by the impervious surfaces like the buildings, et cetera. Do we have an idea what that percentage will be to the total land area?
We do, and I apologize, I don't have it off the top of my head, but I'm happy to follow up with that percentage breakdown information for the council.
One last thing I would suggest too, that any lighting that we have, it comply with the night sky ordinance that we have.
Right.
Absolutely.
So the plan will be, when we do a site development plan, we'll estimate the lot coverage. And we'll also be sure that we honor all of our ordinances. I mean, that's going to be critical.
Okay, thank you.
And we want to be sure that the surfaces that we use to cover the parking lot are pervious and will allow, water infiltration and not flooding. Okay, Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a great evening. Really appreciate everyone's time. Thank
As a
you.
reminder, these will be up in the community center for how long?
Through Sunday. Until Sunday.
Okay, till Sunday. And there'll be Post-it notes there so people can write little comments and stick them on the place that they want to make a suggestion.
Yep, and little dot stickers so people can vote for the things they would like to see most, like
Okay.
games in the park or things like that.
Okay, is there a little explanation or is it just obvious?
Amy,
So we do have instructions on some of the boards, and I think Main Street has arranged for a few volunteers. But that's why, my contact information is also on those boards. And so if folks, get there and are confused, we're available to answer questions.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, yes, Bill.
Mayor, these are beautiful plans. They can pull these off. Is this a complete set or is it elements of a plan? In other words, is it all or nothing at all, or pick and choose?
Modification is probably still available, obviously. I mean, it's not written in stone.
No, I think it's great.
It is
It
not.
really is a very,
But we have to be careful, as Stuart's pointed out, about the surface coverage. And also, included on that is not an animal services center.
well, there is room. looks
Well,
like.
it's a little stakeholder there, but we don't know the size of that, so there's still some things need to be worked out.
And do we have a time frame or a budget, what this might look like?
I'm gonna have to defer to, because we were talking about that today.
We have about $102,000 that we have for as part of an ICIP project. And then we're working with the courts to see if we can come up with some additional money. The final money cost, the actual cost on this, depending on actual final drawing, could range anywhere from 400 to $500,000.
Oh.
And so it's one of those projects that we can do in phases, but we prefer not to.
Right.
Right.
And
Just get it done.
so we're trying to look at the funding that we can get. We've got like I said, a small portion of it from the ICIP, which I believe, like I said, was 102,000. And then we're hoping to be able to work with the court to pick up another
200.
$200,000+. And then we have some other sources that Amy and I have yet to talk about.
I think it would make a real statement about a real center of town. It would really, really be terrific. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
I would
Anybody
say-
else? Go ahead, Ron.
I just would say that Amy has spent a lot of time on this. And, we kind of kicked off, with the new sign out in front of the village hall here, was part of the Wayfinder project, as she mentioned early on in her presentation. And so it's been one of those projects that has several lives to it. And so, but I think it's important to get the public input with the input from the community center over here. But we want to get it done because it's aside from being a good center, it accomplishes a thing where people can come here and be comfortable. And, we had those 3 old cottonwoods that sat there for a while in the middle of the parking lot. And they fell on trucks and we paid fees for lawsuits on that. And so we finally took the trees down. But one of the things that Amy has done in there with the constant, Amy also sits on the secretary of the tree committee. And we've been careful to make sure in that park that there's some aesthetic value to that. And some of the trees, I think there's one tree on there that we promised the tree committee that we would save, even though we cut down some of the cottonwoods.
Bill?
Yeah, I'm sorry, this is off topic. I wanted to ask Mr. Pacheco, do you have a phone number or an email address that we could get a hold of you?
Yes, ma'am. My work cell is a 505-273-1249, 1249.
Okay.
And I can also receive text to that number.
Okay.
And my work email, I'll be happy to give you a card afterwards, but for anybody else who's interested, my work email is aj.pacheco, PACHECO @mail, MAIL .house, HOUSE .gov. It's a long one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Sorry, Mayor.
Well, he'll send you a lot of emails. Okay, anybody else? Okay. All right. So, animal services update. Ms. Gutierrez.
Kick this off.
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
Last time I felt like I was a little bit.
you can hold the microphone if you like.
Okay, well, good evening, Mayor, councilors, Administrator Curry, Randy. For those who don't know me, I am Angela Gutierrez and I am the Executive Director for Corrales Main Street. So I kind of want to lead off by thanking Amy for that presentation as
Yes.
well. So, but I'm involved here tonight to give the animal services update report. And it's the full report is in the packet, but my goal is to kind of summarize a little bit. But I think what I'm going to do is read the first couple paragraphs just for folks, at home that don't have the background on this and just give some history, which, of which there is actually a long one in this sort of effort. So, but this is a recent snapshot of the history. So can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
All right,
You can pick up the microphone
take it off.
if that would be easier for you.
I feel like I'm like karaoke then.
There you go.
Okay.
And you can walk around if you like.
Hold it upside down
Talking
and the
to
kids
you.
will start to log in.
And you can dance if you like. I hear it's good
I
exercise.
know. Oh, it's funny. Okay, so this is the first couple paragraphs of the actual report. It's gonna read, but so the Corrales Animal Services Department moved into their new building in the administration complex in the summer of 2020. Late last year, it became clear that some further upgrades needed to be made to those facilities. And in November of 2021, we received a quote, and I think we is the village, is that correct? And then, or I should say, a quote was produced by Facility Build for installing drains in the kennel rooms. And the kennel rooms that are being referred to right now are actually over in the planning and zoning building. Originally were in the main building. And I think the initial improvement was to move over there and kind of design this new area. But with a little bit of time, it became clear that some additional things needed to be done. And so the original quote that was requested were just for drains to be added. But then it, became clear that we also needed some kennel space and some ventilation upgrades. And so the estimated cost for all of that was around $106,000. So former Mayor Roque started looking into the funding for that from Sandoval County Commissioners. And then the Dennis Friends Foundation. And I'm also a board trustee on the Dennis Friends Foundation. And so I have a lot of kind of contacts and involvement in the animal welfare world, which was a big part of why I was also sort of consulted in this process. So then in early 2022, Councilor Waldman presented the idea of purchasing a prefabricated kennel structure for the Animal Services Department. And newly elected Mayor Fahey and the village administrator Ron Curry decided the best course of action would be to complete an evaluation of the Animal Services Department and get an outside party to look into the improvements and what would be the most beneficial situation, based on what we've already invested, where we're at now, and what would, take care of the animals. So it says Angela Gutierrez, a trustee for the Dennis Friends Foundation, was brought in to help coordinate this evaluation process. And so that was kind of, where I really sort of stepped in and started contacting some of my resources, that I have good contacts with through my board work. So that research process, we learned some things through that. One of the first things we learned was that there really isn't a third party, governing body that would actually come and do some of that assessment. It turns out that a lot of this implementation of what's recommended in terms of standards and even the highest, level of those standards, it really does come down to the municipality and what people are, capable of. And I think obviously everybody strives for the best based on capability, but so learning that was, part of that process. And so it sort of fell back on us to go ahead and try to gather as much information as we could. One of the first things we did was go back to the 2014 task force recommendations that a lot of work was done then to try to figure out what was, necessary and truly optimal, I think, in 2014 is what we learned. And so with that, we initiated this process of talking to Watermelon Mountain Ranch. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but they are like the largest shelter, I think, in Sandoval County, and possibly in New Mexico, but they really have a lot of experience and knowledge about a variety of things. But I think kenneling and humane circumstances is really their specialty. So we started with Watermelon Mountain Ranch. That was a long visit that we all kind of attended and went on site. Next, we went to Sandoval County because they have a relatively new facility. It's interim, I think, at this point. I think their goal is to get a large shelter, but that's within the next couple of years. But they do use the prefabricated building that Councilor Waldman had mentioned. And so our goal was to go out there, and talk with them and see what the actual practical, usage was, which was really helpful because they already had tips about what they didn't like, what we should look for, if we were going to approach it from that direction. And then I think finally, one of my contacts from Albuquerque Animal Welfare, I was put in contact with the director for Bernalillo County. Her name is Misha Goodman. She's been doing this for a very long time also. And she actually was willing to come out here and make a site visit. So she was here and was able to kind of talk with animal services. They know each other from, past interactions. This world is very integrated together. Everyone's very collaborative, because they try to help each other a lot. So having Misha over here was kind of our final, dotting the i's and crossing the t's to make sure that everything that we had gathered was incorporated with our on-site effort. So that's kind of what we finished with. And, we have a long list of what was determined that the Animal Services Department should have. There's about 14 bullet points. Could read some of those. And then with that, we'll show some pictures of kind of what the current situation is over here. But I'll run through this list quickly. And this is the determination of satisfactory animal services department should have. So adequate food and water, this is for the animals. Adequate space, which there's a specific dimension for that. Access to comfortable resting areas for both cats and dogs. Adequate temperature regulation with proper ventilation. Adequate cleanliness, enrichment devices. Access to litter boxes for felines, which I should also mention that we were able, and thank you, to go to Karma and talk with Barbara quite a bit too, because the feline side of all of this is also its own, has a lot of details. So access to shade and shelter for outdoor, ample light, conditions and treatment, which avoid any mental suffering for the animals, enclosures which allow animals to see out while allowing some opportunity to avoid visual contact with other animals, enclosures which allow for cleaning without the removal of the animal. So with that, I'll kind of let Melanie show if you want to look at the current situation. This is the office. And do you want to run through these?
Sure.
Okay.
So yeah, their office space also functions as their storage. So it's a pretty tight area in there. And then there's 2 kennel areas. There is no indoor access to these kennel areas. So you have to go outside the building around the side to the fenced area and enter outside. So this is one of the kennels that's right now mostly used for dogs. And then for the cats, they have these little cat apartments where they can house the different felines in there. The main issue that Animal Services said is a problem right now is the floors are uneven. When they try and mop them, the water seeps underneath the wall and goes into the planning and zoning office. So we don't want that. So kind of what we thought was purchasing one of the prefabricated kennels from Horizon Structures might be the best plan. And we did look at some other areas that had similar kennels. So I found a place. It was also in Pennsylvania. I think Horizon Kennels is in Pennsylvania. It was called Barnyard Structures or something like that. They had kennels that were beautiful. And when I contacted them, first I said, can I get a price list? Because it says on the website, price list. And when you click on it, it just takes you back to their homepage. So I said, your price list on your website isn't working. Can I get a price for this? And the person responded, well, you're 2,000 miles away from our closest distributor. So it better be a big order for us to work with you. I was like, okay. And then we reached out to Misha Goodman had recommended we try Morton Buildings because she had worked with them in the past. And again, we're too far from their building sites and they don't service New Mexico. So I reached out to Tough Shed to see if they could do something. They could build the basically the shell for us, but then we would still have to finish it off internally. So that didn't seem like the greatest idea. So first we looked at, and this is another outside, these are the outdoor runs for the animals. Right now they don't have any shade. Animal Services is working on getting shade cloth for the tops of those for when they have dogs that need to stay out there. So this was the first kind of kennel that we looked at. It would provide sort of an aisle in the middle where we could access the individual dog kennels. And then there's dog runs that go out to the outside and those would be covered. And the little doors in between the box and the dog runs are dog doors that we could get. It's called a guillotine door, which sounds horrible, but it closes it off so that you could keep the dog inside if you need to clean the outside, or if you need to clean the inside, you can put the dog out and then they can't get in. So that kind of takes care of the issue of the cleaning and removing the animals from the area. But in this, it didn't give us an option for what to do with the cats. And so I talked to Kat Keller over at Animal Services, one of the Animal Services officers. And I said, do you think we could design a building where we could have cats on one side, dogs on the other? And she said, that's great. So I sent a very crude drawing to Horizon Kennels. And I said, this is kind of what we're thinking. Would you be able to do something like this? So what this would do is it would give us an intake room kind of in the middle. And that would give sort of a meet and greet area, it would give area for storage. And then there would be doors off to the right and left in this. And so when an animal comes in, it would come into the intake room and then go to the appropriate dog or cat side. So that way, dogs can't see the cats, cats can't see the dogs. We can maintain their mental health a little bit, hopefully. And then the idea would be there would be an open cat area that could have the, cat apartments and cat trees and that kind of thing. And then an enclosed porch area so cats could come and go in and out as they please. And then on the other side, there would be the feed aisle for the dogs, and then kennels with outdoor runs. And the only thing with this one is it can't be wider than 12 feet because that's the largest building they can ship to us from Pennsylvania. So that's really the only sort of thing holding us back is it can't be wider than 12 feet.
Do you know roughly how many square feet we'd be looking at with something like this?
So this one here, I think we estimated 12 feet by about 30, somewhere between 36 and 40 feet.
That includes the outside covered area or just
does.
inside?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, looking at the first one that was 61,000, it's like $300 a square foot on that one, which is there a reason we think that building modular is better than just building? Because I'm pretty sure we could probably construct for less than 300 a square foot, correct?
That is a good question.
I would think so too. I mean, instead of having one that's made and shipped, I mean, the shipping is gonna cost a lot of money. Aren't there builders here in Corrales? I mean, people got together and built the library. I bet we could get people to come and help with this.
That's certainly something we can look at.
What are the pros of bringing in something that's not stuck to the ground?
Yeah, I think one of the questions in terms of, let me take this down. In terms of having a local builder build a building, what you lack is all of the various things that Angela pointed out in terms of animal-specific buildings. So there are certain requirements that most builders aren't unaware of, that to meet the HART standards or to meet various standards for animals that are very different than if you're just building a cabin or you're building, building for a commercial operation. In terms of drainage, cleaning, and materials, those kinds of things are all very different than what you would normally need for a building. I have a question. You have 3 runs listed here. We originally talked about 5 or 6 runs. Is that because of the space available and the
It
cat
is.
area?
Yeah, it is. And then all of this is contingent upon our site development plan that we're doing for the administration complex and how big of a building can fit and keep us within our 35% lot coverage. Because this would go over here next to the planning and zoning department on a cement slab. So it would be a permanent structure. So it will require planning and zoning approval. So the next step is to get that site development plan and
So-
see what we could do and then go
So
from there.
Zach, the idea was to get a turnkey facility that is accustomed to building animal facilities.
Right.
Right. And the one in Sandoval County, the one they have up there, they do have 6 kennel, but it's basically dogs only.
Right.
They have 6 kennels and runs. And it's very nice and the layout's good too. But this we wanted to provide for both sets, cats and dogs. And we don't have a huge number of any animals actually, and we think that this would probably be okay.
Yeah, our average intake is, I think, 2.1 animals per week.
Yeah.
So,
So,
and
so
this is just supposed to be temporary until we can, get them either rehomed with their owner or moved on to a place that can actually adopt them out. So it's not intended to be a long-term adoption facility,
it's a holding cell.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
transfer station.
if I may, my other thought is our last presentation was on spending $500,000 to improve the aesthetics of this general area. Does putting a modular building over there add to or detract from that purpose?
Well, we hope to put it behind a wall, like a coyote fence, so that it's buffered and protected and dogs aren't disturbed and dogs don't disturb people.
Okay.
But basically this is the first time we brought this. I mean, this is time for you. If you don't like that idea, but we sure don't like the idea of having to go out and find somebody to build it for us. I mean, that to me that's why these guys are successful, because they do it the right way and they've been very successful doing it. Yes.
I think if you're comparing costs and the costs that the former administration had for $106,000 for 2 drains and linkage compared to a building that is specifically made, I would have one concern about the mixing of dogs and cats in the same building in terms of noise. Very often cats coming in are going to be very shy and scared. And is there any kind of soundproofing? If you're going to have it in the same building, is there any kind of soundproofing that can be built in to something like this? Something for Horizon?
I think so. That's kind of, we talked a little bit about that with the sales rep with Horizon.
Has Horizon done a combination building? Do you know?
I don't know. But when I asked, she said, yes, they can definitely do that. So
Yes, Mel.
So this is just the building structure. This isn't the foundation or the electricity that has to get there, or the drainage works that has to be put in? Is that
Yes, there's
correct?
some outside work that needs to be done.
Okay.
This is the building that you come, you bring it in, you set it on the slab, and then you hook everything up.
Well, and I think these are all
It may
really,
not be just hook everything up. It may be a little bit more than that, but I mean, that's the idea, is try to keep it as simple as possible, and at the same time, provide a benefit to the animals that we do have to watch out for. Yes, ma'am.
well, and I was gonna say, I think these are all good questions and this is our time to, do all of this and write these things down and make sure that we're addressing them. That was part of the effort of like, getting all of this information, really trying to gather a lot and talk to as many different, entities as we could. But, I think to answer Zach's question, if you walked over there now, these prefab buildings look really nice. And I appreciate what you're saying, I think, but I think potentially could be an improvement. And part of the benefit of doing some of these projects all, in concert is that we can think about that. Right now, we're looking at the village. the complex we designed it.
It's not working. I'll go in the other room.
But,
Stuart, did you want to talk?
Yeah, I was thinking too also about food storage. Is there a provision where we can store the food without vermin or squirrels getting into it so to be protected?
I think the idea was if we moved the animals out of those two kennel areas, that area could be used for storage.
But we would
Um,
want to get it off the floor so that the water doesn't seep underneath.
Yeah,
it.
they actually have shelving in their storage unit, but I guess the building has been moved a couple of times, and so
Yeah, my
right now
other thought
the
too
shelves are
is,
down, but
to kind of answer Zach's question too, I think the prefab would lend itself to a relocation at some point in the future too. If we wanted to move it up to the northwest sector, moving the animal control services completely up there, that might be a future item where we could do that with a prefab.
Yeah, I'm not sure how quick we would be to move it,
Well,
but it would probably be a possibility.
it would lend itself to that.
Sure.
If you have a prefab.
Or at the Jones property now. I mean, is that a better location for animal services if we're doing a modular building? I know maybe once it becomes an art center, not so much, but I think the aesthetics and then supply chain too, just how far out would this, if we say yes, how long does it take to actually get it on site?
if we had ordered in May, when I first started talking to them, they would have been able to deliver it by August. So about
Of
3
this year?
months. Yeah,
Okay, I mean, I think that's optimistic. but
Yeah.
Hopefully that's accurate,
Yeah.
because that's my other concern too, is we pull the trigger on this and we're waiting on something that's gonna take months, maybe years, with supply chain issues, what they currently are. And we'll be, I don't know, stalled
well,
perhaps.
and I think that also goes back to your original question of how much could we build something for? I mean,
Yeah.
nobody really knows that answer anymore. It's very fluctuating. And I think another benefit would be you get the price, that's the price.
Yeah.
And you're not going to 2 weeks later get a new price and a new price, and a new price, at least, to start with that.
And this is what they do, Horizon Structures. So that supply chain kind of, well, it may be a concern in the short term. They have the pieces put together and they ship it here. My understanding is they do this for municipalities all over the country. And the Public Works Department
Yeah.
easily puts together the pieces and sets it on the concrete slab or whatever is already there.
I think they do the construction, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah,
They do.
our public works doesn't have to do it.
Oh, they send somebody out to do that?
yeah,
Oh,
they
that's
come
great.
and they set it up
Yes.
and then
So
it's ready to go.
It's to their advantage to get them done and get them finished and then leave. So,
We would need to have the concrete slab poured ahead of time.
yeah,
For them to place it
that would
on,
be the
but-
limiting factor.
Yeah, and they have, it's all climate controlled and it's, sloped properly for drainage. It's,
You have to tell them.
You have to pay extra for
You
that.
have to tell them to slope it. You have to make sure it's sloped.
yeah.
But yes, they can do that.
Okay.
Can I-
Well,
Anybody
Yeah.
else?
Just a quick question, what we do in the interim, where we are now. Animals are picked up today and they're held for a period of time, 3 days. What is the operational plan right now? Are we still considering Animal Humane or Bernalillo County?
Yes.
And is there a written contract for our no-kill ordinance that follows the animal?
There's a written email that agrees to that, especially with Animal Humane.
An email?
Any other questions? Comments? I think we want to make sure and thank Commissioner Bruck too for the contribution, $25,000 that will be used for animal services. In the original report, there's a typo. We accidentally spelled her name wrong. We apologize, just so everybody can make a note of that. And I think, in closing, for me, knowing the history, knowing where we're at now, this has been an extremely collaborative process. And I think that's the focus, is that we have a lot of support coming from different places. Not only, was everybody willing to help us in this process, that, the outreach, but we have a lot of support from multiple areas. And I think it's a really good sign that there's momentum here. And I think, the Dennis Friends Foundation is in support of this project as well. And so once the plan is actually set and there, the Dennis Friends Foundation is, here to support it as well. And I think that's just an important piece to understand, is that all this effort has gone into it because at this point, the stars are somewhat aligned. And so I think just want to thank everybody who was involved in getting this done.
So I would say that if you have any questions or anything else you would like to add, write it down, send us an email. What they gave you a timeline for, when we would order, when they would construct, and when it would be delivered. And a lot of it, is determined by when we can get a slab, and that's also determined by a site development plan. So we're not within 30 days of ordering anything. It's probably closer to maybe September.
Yeah, I think with the site development plan, when we talked to Steve Grohlman, he's working on the plans for the rec center first. And then once he's done with that, he'll take on the administrative complex. And he gave us an estimate of about 90 days max for that to be complete. And then once we have that, we can get on the agenda for a planning and zoning meeting for approval of the site development plan, which could be another month or two, depending on what time of the month that site development plan gets completed. And then once we have that approval, then we can go to Dennis Friends and say, this is our overall, oh, well, no, first then we would have to get the quote from Facility Build for the concrete. And then we can go to Dennis Friends and say, this is our overall estimate for this project. And they've committed, I think, a pretty hefty number. I don't think we've specified any exact number yet, but
The support is
they're
definitely
open to
there,
this,
yeah.
supporting it.
Yeah, so it'll be a little while before we pull the trigger, okay? Bill, if you want to say something.
Just a quick question, a guess on your part. Given the plans that we just saw for the parking lot and trees and walkways and things, in terms of the putting another building here, is planning and zoning going to be a problem?
Probably. I think that's sort of a given. The planning and zoning many times is, a little difficult with new construction. And we believe that, a large amount of this space is covered. And we don't know yet. But it's probably, I don't know if it's close to 35 or 40%, but it's going to be close. And we don't know how, that includes all impervious surfaces. So we're going to have sidewalks, we'll have that. But yeah, we have to have a site development plan before we can move forward. We may have to ask for a
Variance?
variance, for
Well,
small.
maybe we know some people in high places that could ask for that.
Yeah.
Votes on the appeal of a variance in that situation.
That's right.
At any rate, we're trying to come up with an idea that's functional and would work. and that we can do with a lot of support and with everybody's input. And it seems like we're making much better progress this time than we have in the past. And we're addressing one of your issues, I think, or all your issues, I hope.
Yeah.
And try and do what's right. But it does take a while, the wheels move slowly. Okay, anybody else have anything else? Angela, do you have anything else you want to add?
Nope, I just want to, again, thank everybody for, this process. I think
Thank you.
it feels like it's fairly speedy as things can go. So I just appreciate it.
Yes, Mel.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to know, was there any other location that was looked at besides just over here by P and Z?
Not at this time. There might be perhaps another site, evaluated, but not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Melanie, do you have anything else you want to say?
Nope. Nope, that was it.
I think these ladies did a good job putting all this together.
Great. Thank you. That might be-
I think they should get a pat on the back. So next we're going to, administrator's report.
Hey, Tanya, your first up on a COVID update.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Council, Mayor, Administrator Curry. We got 5 cases over the 3-day weekend in Corrales, bringing us up to 70 cases. The state is running an average of about 110 cases per day still over the weekend. BA4 and BA5, the Southwest region is still the most rapidly occurring and increasing group for BA4, BA5. So I really want to talk about reinfection. People who had Omicron infection earlier in the year and vaccinated people who are not boosted are really at higher risk with BA4 and BA5. It's not providing as much protection. We are still getting breakthrough, of course, with vaccine, but less people are ending up in the hospital with it. And I don't know why we're our geographical area is having the increase, and it's primarily BA5 over the Omicron BA 2.121. It's just the way it's working out. There's no rhyme or reason with this virus. So once again, the state, the county, 9 counties are in red in New Mexico from the CDC community map, which means people should be wearing masks indoors and in large gatherings. There is no mandate, but that is the CDC's recommendation. But treatment, early treatment, you can see in the report that I did send out, we're getting 27% of people that are still dying and in hospital that are fully vaccinated and boosted. And the Department of Health is really stressing it's because they're at risk. They are over 65. They have certain health conditions that will lead them to be at risk: overweight, sedentary lifestyle, current or former smoker, organ transplant, on prednisone, cancer chemotherapies, diabetes type 2 is a big one, high blood pressure or heart problems, and they're not getting in to get treatment within the 5 days. And that is what the Paxlovid, which is the tier 1, has to be started within 5 days. And that is what is leading to a lot of this. If people can't find treatment through their doctor, or their doctor says something like, wait, let's see how you do. There's an online, it's linked in our website. It's on the cv.nmhealth.org website to be able to find a treatment. If you're a Presbyterian patient, you can, and you have your MyChart set up, you can just log in and click the buttons and say you have COVID, whether it's a home test or a lab test. And they'll do an interview with you and see you, and they'll get you a prescription ordered. So that is very, very important. And a new study dropped yesterday. I haven't finished reading it because we've been super busy. And it says that each time you get infected with COVID, you're more at risk to having long-term complications from it, more at risk with hospitalization and or death. We are getting, I know a doctor that got COVID twice within 3 weeks. One was BA 2.12 and one was BA5. So it's definitely very, very contagious. And then moving on to vaccinations, we were the first, I got told this today in the state meeting, we were the first to distribute pediatric vaccines on Monday. No other place had distributed them. We got 21 vaccines for under 4-year-olds out. We would have had more. We were ready for more, but the state system was glitchy, and I worked with them all day on Sunday and part of the day on Monday trying to fix all the errors. Today, we did 55 vaccines. We did both Pfizer and Moderna. We will be out of all 200 vaccines probably by the weekend, if not by Monday, and I've already placed an order for more. And parents, I think Chief Martinez and Sue Hinchcliffe with Kiwanis can tell you that I think more parents cried than children when they got their vaccines. They were just so happy to be able to finally get something. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mayor, this is Councilor Murray. This kind of brings up a question is that should we go back to Zoom meetings based on the contagious nature of these two BA4 and BA5 variations?
I don't know if that was a direct reason, but it probably had some bearing. I mean, I think it's better to allow people to Zoom if they want, if they're concerned, because Tanya, for example, has some concerns because of family members. I mean, I think most of us have been vaccinated and probably this is more protection because we're inside and we try to, stay some distance away as possible. But I wouldn't say that Zooming was because of the infection rate alone. I think it's more the fact that we have it, it's available to people, and some people like to use it. I mean, my wife's sitting at home right now with her feet up somewhere and watching us on the TV. I mean, on the computer.
Well, I guess the other question I have too, Tanya, do you know of anybody who has gotten COVID from attending a meeting here at the council chambers at all, or any other meetings? Do we know?
No, I do know people who got COVID from Starry Nights last year. I don't know anyone who has reported that they got it from a council meeting. I know people have gotten it from church and different things. Going to full Zoom is really a council decision. I do know Albuquerque for their meeting this week went only Zoom. A lot of that, I believe, is because they had so many staff that were out with COVID as well. They get a lot more people. I can't tell exactly how many people are in our meeting, but I know we have 13 or so online. So I think being able to have the option is definitely something that's really good for our citizenry, with us having 1/3 of the population over 65.
Anyone else have a question?
All right.
Tanya, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're keeping us all safe.
We're trying.
Okay.
Thank you, Tanya. By the way, there's going to be a 4th of July parade, and it's going to start at 10 o'clock. And right at this moment, we have about 36 entry folks that are going to be in it. It's going to be a wet, dry, not a wet fly, dry fly sort of parade, but it's going to be, we're going to have our traditional beginning with Walt leading the parade down Main Street here. And then at the end, there's going to be a water feature parade where there will be people firing water one way or another back at folks. There will be certain political candidates involved. I think at this point, we've got some candidates that are participating in the water feature. I say that politely, the water feature portion of the parade. And Lynn is looking for volunteers. She's going to be meeting with Kiwanis Club, trying to pull that together. We're going to be using barricades on certain areas rather than having folks out there to try to keep people out. The parade route will put up, of course, and where the barricades will show up on our website prior to the parade. And if you've got any questions or you want to enter, there'll be a portion of the parade that the council and the mayor will be featured in there. And
The wet part.
Yeah. And so we'll be getting that information out to you. But talking with Lynn earlier today, we're thinking that there's a possibility that that there's such an enthusiasm level for a parade, since we're kind of parade starved over the last 2 years, that we might be able to see as many as 60 entries into the parade. But we anticipate that it will run from about no more than an hour, probably 45 minutes coming down the road. So the entries are still being put together.
Depends on when everybody runs out of water, I guess.
But
And I'm here if you guys.
Lynn, you want to fill in some blanks there?
Is Lynn here?
Lynn, do you want to add to that?
Don't think he's muted.
Maybe he didn't hear you.
We can't hear you, Lynn.
Maybe he's mute.
Am I unmuted?
Oh, there you go.
are. Now you're good.
Okay, so the only thing that I'm just worried about is just, we do have the water portion of the parade, but everybody on the sideline needs to be ready just for that, not the rest of the parade. Because we still have horses, we have the really the old cars and all that don't want any water. So if we can please just make sure everybody just is ready for just the water portion of the parade with the water guns on the sideline. Does that
And
make
that'll
sense?
that'll be at the end, right?
It's at the very, very end of the parade.
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, we're going to try to get this information out to as many people as we can. I mean, I want to try to get the TV stations to put this out, but I want people to have a very good time, enjoy it. I mean, I truly think we're going to have a lot of people because we've had tons of calls. So the water's at the very, very end, and that's when the spectators can shoot the floats, floats shoot spectators. But let's just wait till the end of that, because I just don't want a horse get hit with water and not like it and take off. We don't need anything like that in our community, though. So, but no, I mean, yeah, we do want to have a great time. I mean, so if you guys have any concerns, questions, or whatever, please let me know. I mean, the registration for this ends July 1st. So we like Ron said, we just had what we had registered, but I guarantee we're gonna have a lot more. But some people don't know also how to register. It's all done online on the Parks and Rec site. So just get on there, go to the registration tab on our webpage and then see it. But we did put, and then we kind of maneuvered stuff around today where we're going to have stuff. Horses are going to be lined up on the south lot of the school parking lot. The old cars and tractors that don't want to get wet are going to be on the north lot at the school. Then the military and the military people will be at Ex Novo. And then we're going to have everybody else who has a regular float's going to be at the old church. And then the water people are going to be at Wagner's, only water. So if everybody can just understand where they're going to line up, we are going to have people there kind of pushing, telling people where they do need to go. But the horse people, if we could have them just park at the Popcorn Marina and ride their horses down to the school and then get to the south lot, that would be recommended, just so we don't have a lot of trailers in there, because that lot is not that big. And then the old cars and tractors, I mean, we may have to go through the parent pickup line and then go into the parking lot of the school, but I'm going to have all the gates open on there. But think other than that, I think we're going to be okay. We have permission for everything we're doing. Everybody's excited about it. So, I mean, all these, the church was excited, Wagner's was excited, Ex Novo was excited, the school is willing to do anything for us. So I think this is going to be a great event. And then at the rec center, we do have an ice cream truck that's going to be selling ice cream there. That's also going to be in the parade too. And then we're trying to get food trucks at the pool afterwards because the parade will end at the post office. Pull in there and then go through the public works parking lot. The horses will go into the arena. Everybody else will go into the rec center parking lot. And so the pool's free to swim from 12 to 3 or 12:30 to 3. And then and the people, if they want to eat, they're from food trucks, they can go in the backfield, front field, wherever at the rec center. We're not going to do any inflatable stuff just to kind of keep people away from each other, but they can just separate and do whatever, but just to have a good time. So I think we got this all kind of planned out. So if anyone, but registration to get into the parade is done online on the Parks and Recreation page. You got to go to registration on our tab and then sign up, and then there's a release that you understand the rules and regulations. But yeah, we really want, if you guys talk to anybody, please just make sure that there's no water shot until the end of the parade.
Okay.
So
Yeah, Mayor, I have a question and a comment. My question is, for the water portion, is it going to be a section of the parade route while the parade's still moving that's going to be the wet portion? Or is there going to be a lot where they
It'll
pull
be
off?
the very end of the parade. And are you going to put some kind of a banner across that says wet portion of the parade or something so people know?
we may have.
There's gonna be a
Fairmont
gap.
County-
There will be a gap of maybe 100 yards.
Okay, and then my comment is, anybody with kids, I think is 90% of them are going to find their way to the wet portion of the parade because that's going to be dramatically more interesting to the kids than the dry portion. And my hunch is that 90% of our parade is going to be dry portion. And we're going to have this massive bolus of people packed into this tiny little area so they can either spray or get sprayed. And I don't know, it seems like it could create some logistical challenges because I don't think there's going to be anyone under the age of 18 in the dry section.
So when the wet floats come, is that when people can start shooting at the wet float or they have to wait till the very end of the parade?
Okay, so here's what's going to happen. It's going to be very first. It's going to be the color guard and the military going to go first. With Walter. Walter's going to go, and then after that, it's going to be the old vehicles. So okay, the very first part of the parade is going to start at Ex Novo. They're going to go, and then they're going to get up, and then the old cars are going to be at the school where the parent pickup is, and then they're going to go, and then the horse is going to be at the south side of the school. Then they're going to go, and then from there it's going to be then up at the church is going to be just the normal floats with the walkers, whatever everybody else is going to do their thing. Then they're going to go. And then after that, we're going to wait a while before at Wagner's Farm is when all the wet water people are going to go. So it's all, if you're on the parade route, you're going to, well, as long as you're on the parade route from the bottom of the school, you'll see it all. If you just want to, if you're going to be up by Ex Novo, you won't see the horses, the tractors and old cars. But you won't see that if you're up at Ex Novo. But if you're at Ex Novo, you're going to see the start of the parade there. And then when those pass, and that's when the old cars and tractors are going to go, and that's when the horses are going to go. And then after that, then we're going to go from the old church. We're going to be on the radios telling the regular floats to go. And then we're going to wait a little bit, and then from Wagner's Farm, the wet people are going to go.
So the whole
we're gonna
first
give a
route will
break.
be wet, but just the end of the procession will be wet.
Yeah, just the end of the procession will be wet. I mean, but we're going to give it people that don't want to get wet a chance to get away.
Okay, so they can spray them from anywhere. They just can't do it till after the gap of dry people.
Yeah, we just need,
Okay.
after the normal floats go, then you're going to hear all the noise coming from the wet. I guarantee it.
Yes, you are.
Okay,
Perfect. Thank
You will
you.
hear it.
I think
Sounds
it'll work
great.
out just
Okay.
great.
Yep.
I'm gonna hope for rain.
That's right.
We may have, no, that'll be,
No, there is a 30%
It'll be later.
rain but it's going to be later in the day.
Okay.
So-
Okay,
But if you guys have any other questions or want us to change anything, I mean, let us know sooner than later, because like today we made a lot of changes. So we moved the horses today, the tractors today. And so really, I mean, but I did get a hold of most of those people. I mean, the antique cars, I haven't heard anything from them. I don't know who to get a hold of them or who to contact, but they've always been in that same spot though. So, but please let us know.
Stuart has a question.
Lynn, so I'm looking at the website now, so there's no charge for joining. You just need to register, is that correct?
You just need to register, sign the waivers, understand you read the rules.
Yeah.
And just,
No, we don't charge.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And
No,
it's
no,
required,
don't-
all the politicians have to be in the wet section, correct?
I think that's,
Well,
I think that's
that should be
being
a rule.
disputed. I think that's being disputed.
Yeah. I love it.
All the unelected.
All those under 30.
one did sign up for the wet section though. That's,
Okay. All right, anybody have any more questions or comments? Get a hold of Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn.
One
you
last,
bet. Thank you guys.
one last item on the administrator's report is that the mayor and myself and Melanie and Lori met with Dewey Cave and Bianca Borg
Oh, gosh.
from the Millery Grand Council of Governments. And we discussed the long-awaited and somewhat delayed comprehensive plan that the last one was done in Corrales was 2009. And they helped us with that. So what we're looking at now is a comprehensive plan light. And we're looking at trying to kick it off with a facilitated meeting by the COG sometime in early fall. And what we'll be doing with the council prior to that time, we'll be developing a group. We haven't decided how big it's going to be yet, but we'll be developing a group of stakeholders that will be represented by businesses here in the village, by, you know, various stakeholder groups like businesses, horse folks, agricultural folks that are within the village. And we'll try to have a group of stakeholders, and we'll pull these stakeholders together and then have a bigger meeting where we can start to describe what we're going to do and get input from people as we go forward with a revision of the comprehensive plan. Again, we'll be asking for the council to give input like we did on the chapter 18, as far as people who want to participate on this. And we had initially thought that that Mr. Cog would be helping to write this for us and actually do the whole thing. What they've told us is they will help us at the beginning and help us at the end and give us guidance. But they, at this point, are contracted with other villages in New Mexico to work on theirs. And they feel confident by the fact that we have good talent in our planning and zoning, and that we have described to them what we're going to do in the way of a comprehensive plan, that we'll get it kicked off. But the key thing again is that we'll try to make it as clear as possible when we have these first few meetings in the fall. And my experience with comprehensive plans is that if they're done right, you get a lot of good input, you get a lot of positive input, as long as you describe what you're going to do at the beginning. What we don't want to see happen is, there's a good deal of opinion in our village. And what we don't want to do is have opinions break out so that people are really adversarial with one another. We understand that different opinions exist and we want to hear those, but we don't want the comprehensive plan to be compromised by a lack of leadership and a lack of describing from the very beginning what the scope of work is going to look like. So stay tuned. And like I said, we'll be reaching out to the council to suggest members and set up this group of stakeholders. One of the things that we're very determined to do is that we want a representative group, but we don't want to, it's talking about stakeholders, but we don't want an unmanageable group of folks going forward as far as stakeholders. And the job of the stakeholders, as we see it right now, is to reach out to various constituencies, whether it's in a district or whether it's broken down by the diversity of the people that we have on the stakeholder group, whether it's the ag people or the commercial people or vineyards, let's say, and have them reach out to various people to get their input. And we'll be bringing input into this. We anticipate, we would like to say that we would get this all done within a period of a year, but we asked them as an example, how Rio Rancho was doing on theirs. And they said, not tongue in cheek completely, but a little bit, that they started off really good and they got about 70% done. And now they've just kind of paused, and paused for how long, we don't know. And so, but I think it's important, again, and we'll discuss this all at the beginning when we get ready to move into the stakeholders group, that we set a goal for ourselves so that we can have a beginning and hopefully an end that we can all work towards for it. So comprehensive plan, like I said, the last one was done in 2009. The COG helped us do that, helped the village do that. We're supposed to have revised it within 5 to 10 years, and there's really no enforcement on that, but it helps us when we go into things to describe things, like if we go out for a bond election again or something like that. It's good to have that there so that we can lay on the table of who we are and what we're trying to do going forward.
Now, if you don't have a copy of the old one available, you can probably give them a digital copy, right? You can email it to them,
Yep, and it's
That's
also
on
on our website.
or it's on our website. Okay. Okay. So we don't have any other department reports.
Now that we're done.
So now it's counselors forum. Anybody have anything they want? Go ahead, Zach. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take a minute to congratulate Krause Main Street and Angela in particular for the garden tour. It was a great success from my standpoint. I know they had a fair amount of volunteers. They had a ton of people that came and visited it. You know, the mayor volunteered. Both of my boys were in indentured servitude. But it was a great event, and so congratulations on your first one.
Thank you. And thank you to all the volunteers.
And you were obviously very successful parking those cars because you're here today.
Yeah, no injuries or accidents.
Very
One of my
good.
kids actually got a tip. Did you get a tip?
No.
Well, good.
Yes, sir, Stuart.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, councilors. So got a couple, 3 items. I think, Mayor, you and I were discussing earlier, maybe a possibility of a July 6th meeting to
Yes.
talk about funding and ICIP and LGIP monies. I think that's a great idea. Also, I was noticing on Nextdoor, there was a comment about, does the pool entertain a certain time for seniors to do laps? Somebody was saying they did not see anything on the website, and some people even said they didn't even know that Corrales had a pool.
Oh, that's really good.
So anyway, I would like to know if Lynn might be able to respond to that at some point.
Sure.
And also the Metropolitan Transportation Planning Board meeting was supposed to have been last Friday, but we got delayed till this Friday. So maybe I'll have a report next time.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, so now it's time for Corraleon's forum. Melanie, who do you have?
I think our only person to sign up was Mr. Kurt Flora.
Mr. Flora has the floor.
Can you hear me? Yes, hello?
3 minutes.
Yes, I just wanted to say that there's a special closed session tonight, and I just wanted to let you all know that your decision in the closed session tonight that we've been involved with for the last 4 years, I hope that you all do consider what was stated, and that everything goes well. It's been a long 4 years for us. And we hope this will end tonight. And that's pretty much what I have to say. We're praying. We've been through a lot in the last 4 years, and we don't want to continue if possible. But if we do have to continue, we will. So that's, we just pray that everything goes fine tonight in the closed session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Flora.
That's it.
That's it? Okay. All right, so the next item is the consent agenda. Have you had an opportunity to review those? I'm sorry, somebody say something?
There you go.
So once you've had an opportunity to review those, if you want to pull one out, or if you want to make a motion to approve the consent agenda,
I'll make a motion. We approve the consent agenda.
do I have a second to approve the consent agenda?
Second,
So I have a second from Counselor Knight.
Mayor, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
On number 4, there isn't a date for the extension of the emergency for fireworks. Is it a 30-day
Yes, sir.
rolling?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's why it's on this time again, because we need to be within that 30 days. And we didn't make it the first time, but we wanted to cover that first part. So now we renew it, and that covers the 4th of July.
Great.
And hopefully, by the end of that 30 days, we won't have to, but don't count on it.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody want to pull something off? Okay. Counselor Miera, how do you vote?
Yes.
Counselor Woolman,
Aye.
Counselor Knight,
aye.
Counselor Burkett,
Aye.
Counselor Murray.
All right.
Okay. Passes 5-0 since we can't ask John what he wants to say. All right. New business, consideration action approval of liquor license for Milagro Winery Tasting Room. We have somebody who's going to talk? What?
Did our applicants want to say anything to the council?
Oh. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't recognize you with your mask on.
That's all right. Well, this is part of the requirement for alcohol gaming to grant us an off-site license for the previously approved building that we're working with Silverleaf on. It's sort of a duplication, if you ask me, of what we've already been through, but if there's any questions about it, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Any question of the council? Yes, Stuart.
Thank you. So your winery storage is off-site, is that correct?
The winery storage, well, of course, our winery is located pretty close there, and we'll just have a few cases inside of the inside the building.
Any plans for expansion then or further down the road?
No.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
Mayor, I had just one more comment.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
So, I mean, this is probably a little bit of a sidebar. The last time we had a liquor license before us, it was close to the school. But do we in the village have a process where we evaluate these liquor license requests? And is there somehow we can?
No,
do this with-
this goes through the state.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, when looking at the rules on chapter 4, I think it was, it just said that the council could approve or disapprove. I just wondered if there was some kind of a process in place where we could do that.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes, sir.
what Councilor Murray is referring to, we've come up with an issue where state statute has given us discretion when you have a situation when you are within the boundary around a church or school, that we can, if we choose to, waive that distance requirement. And we didn't have a process in place, and it made it rather burdensome to hear that. So I would suggest we work with administration to create that process. For a normal liquor license hearing, the applicant gets to speak. It is a public hearing. Anyone else can make comment and follow quasi judicial procedures if they wish to. But most of them are pretty run of the mill, because if you don't, really our only discretion is if it's too close to a school or church, as long as it meets the zoning requirements.
Yeah, that's my only concern is I didn't think we had anything in place for this, but that was just kind of a sidebar. Thank you.
This is just another retail outlet, basically, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So
And
he's just going to take
in
his
the
wine.
site, in the site development plan, this all was gone over and that
Correct.
was all checked and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And
No, I
so
just-
that was approved at that time, but alcohol and gaming has their own
Yes,
procedures for an off-site license, and that's
Yes.
what we satisfied, and part of it is coming back to the council to get approval.
yes, they let us have final approval because it's our jurisdiction, even though they're the guys who are in charge. So, yes, sir.
Just two quick questions, also a bit of an aside. Is the coffee cafe still a possibility there?
Yes, there will be a coffee roaster there.
Candlestick?
Yeah.
And secondly, do we have a time frame as to when you might open? After tonight's meeting is.
Yeah, you know, it keeps moving back,
Right.
but I don't know, in a couple months, maybe 3 months.
Great.
We have to go through harvest yet, and all this, of course, is gonna happen at the same time, so it's probably gonna be, as far as the wine portion of it, I'm guessing it'll be after harvest before we get all that together.
Well, I think we're all very excited about this and
Well, I
look forward.
appreciate that, thank you.
Great, thank you.
I will make a motion. We approve the liquor license.
I'll second.
Okay, so you got that, Melanie? So I have a motion to approve the liquor license for Milagro Winery tasting. Yes, sir.
Is there anyone else here to speak on it before we go to a final vote?
Anyone in the audience here to speak on it? Okay. How do you vote, Stuart?
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Mel,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Rick?
Yes, sir.
So the motion passes. So at this point, we are planning to go into closed executive session. I need a motion to go into closed executive session pursuant to NMSA 1978, section 1015-1, H7.
I move that we,
Motion.
I move that we go into executive session.
I have a
Second.
second. I have a motion and a second. Should I do it? Stuart, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Mel,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Rick?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're in executive session. So I need a motion to come out of closed session. Stuart,
Yes.
Bill, you seconded?
Second.
Okay, Mel seconded. Let's see. So how do you vote, Rick?
Yes.
How do you vote, Bill?
Aye.
How about you, Mel?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Stuart?
Aye.
So we are now out of closed session.
I'll do a report, Mayor.
Just go ahead.
Thank you. Just wanted to report that we did go into closed session to discuss potential or threatened or pending litigation. We did discuss that, took no action in closed session, and we followed all the rules of the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, so now under announcements and future agenda, let me just tell you, get these out. So we'll do a special meeting on July 6th at 6 PM. At that one, we will go over the ICIP, discuss that. And perhaps by that time, we'll have other items that we can bring up. And in addition, Stuart would like to go over some of the funds that we have. And I think that's appropriate for you guys to know that. That was probably one of the first questions I ever asked when I got elected. So I think that's good, and we'll discuss that. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Would it be possible to get an update and really a comprehensive look at the interior drain project? What it's going to look like? No,
I don't think there's much on that, but I'll certainly I'll ask about that.
thank you.
I have not seen any minutes lately, so I don't know what they've been talking about.
Okay.
I will tell you that Anthony is going to try to get Anthony Martinez, our fire chief, is going to try to get an easement from the MRGCD along the drain so he can put a pipe in. So we can, this will be part of the fire suppression system. He's also working with the, well, that's a different part, but that's one of the things.
So could fiber for broadband be part of that, or is
You
that?
know, Melanie and I talked to the broadband people, what was that, a couple of weeks ago? And have you heard anything more from them?
I haven't. He was supposed to send over the name of a company that could help us do kind of a survey of Corrales, although another company actually sent us a map that's on our website now showing where we have good internet coverage and where we don't. The problem is all of the grants for broadband right now, you have to have between 50 and 90% of your population not have access to internet. And Corrales doesn't meet that requirement. So all of the funding is being funneled into those two programs right now. So we can't get funding for any
So having
broadband.
said that, we're still going to look into it and find out what it would cost.
Yeah.
What we would put in is probably going to be fiber as opposed to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Because it's upgradable to a better speed and they don't have to replace all the equipment. Whereas with Wi-Fi, it's line of sight and they have to replace equipment as they increase the speed. We don't know that number, what it would cost, but it's a potentially, we could go through another grant perhaps, or legislative funds and use our money as a match for those funds. Or get as many partners as we can. It's always helpful to have more than one partner.
Yep.
When you go to the legislature.
I mean, it's, we do have a fair amount of money, but USDA rural development loans are always available, 40-year loans at 2% or something.
Well, if we have to.
Yep.
I'd rather use other people's money
Yep.
if we can.
Maybe we can get Elon Musk to contribute.
He wants us to get it from satellites.
Elon Musk.
On that point, Mr. Mayor, how far is the school involved in this one? The school system, are they all lined up? Because talking about, they've got some 9.9 money on that one. So do you know if they're up to date?
You mean on the broadband?
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Yeah, I
I have
don't-
not heard anything about
I don't
that.
know.
Like other people's money, the school's got
They do.
a good opportunity to get some funds.
They're ready.
What did you call that? 9.9?
It was 9. I think it was 9.9, but just put 9 down because it's a program that they get from the feds to get the schools up to date. And we are part of APS, but we're way outside and that might help because it kind of went along with that same idea. They may not be up to date. That had an awful lot to do with the testing that they had problems with getting testing done.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
keep that, we're asking.
Okay, okay. Anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Okay, all right. And if anything else comes up with regard to animal services or estimates or costs or whatever, we'll probably bring that up. Let me write that down just in case. Does anyone else have any other topic or subject that they would like to address? Then consider, since the business of the village has been completed, we are adjourned.